the Apollo missions were fake to bankrupt the Soviet Union.
You don't believe we went to the moon?
I believe it was a brilliant piece of propaganda that the Soviets bankrupted themselves, pouring resources into rockets and other useless machines.
Useless machines.
Welcome to the Thunder Rooster podcast. My name is Ron.
And I'm Paul.
And we are going to be talking about a conspiracy theory today.
Yes.
And we're really jazzed up about this one.
I'm so ready for this.
Well, yeah, a little about our last episode. We covered our music topic, and it was over System of a Down. It's one of me and Paul's one up there with our favorite bands.
They're a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Yeah.
I know we had a lot of fun doing that. There were some things we got wrong. Hopefully, I was able to correct that in the edit. But just in case, I'm saying this now. So there were some things missed, and hopefully we can get that corrected. But man, oh man, the moon landing conspiracy.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, so we'll just say, kind of up front.
What are your thoughts?
We are kind of leaning in the conspiracy side of things, not necessarily over the moon landing per se, but I'm just saying it's really kind of hard to trust the government.
Is that how you feel about it?
Yeah, I kind of over the years, there's a lot of stuff, and you can claim national security over certain things, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that it's kind of one of those things. If somebody lies to you, you find out about it, it's hard to trust them again after that.
I agree. Wholeheartedly, my friend.
So, I mean, I don't know if we'll do an episode over this or not in the future, but I mean, the Gulf of Tonkin incident that got us into the Vietnam War. I mean, that was one of those things that, it was a red flag, and, the American public found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not talked that much about, but the information is out there.
That's for sure. There's plenty.
But all right, let's get into it. So our way of diving into this, let's talk about what is the moon conspiracy. You want to start us off with that?
Sure, of course. Basically, let's just say that this was basically it's a race for superpowers. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Basically how we kind of come to the determination, and there's theories and there's testimonies, but just for the fact of the matter is, you have the U.S. and Russia in tight competition.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking 50s.
Great space
60s.
race.
Yes. So in still with this, it's 50, I want to say late 50s, but 57, you have Russia who sends in their first satellite in orbit, which is Sputnik. And then a month later, they follow with Sputnik 2. Of course, with other powers, different countries, everyone wants to be top dog.
Right.
And the U.S. did not want to be let down from this. Well, so what did they do? They said, well, if you guys can send a satellite into space, then we're going to send a man on the moon.
Right. John F. Kennedy announced it publicly through a great speech saying that we're going to put a man on the moon. I think it was in 62, I believe is when that happened. Mm-hmm. And then by 69, we had accomplished that mission.
And these are not exactly, but you have these kind of examples happening with all countries today. Everyone wants to be the higher up. Everyone wants to feel like their country is top dog, or this nuclear program, or we can be the bullies. And it was basically in this threat of the nuclear war.
Right. Well, not only that, this is also one of those great flexes for the country of the United States.
Sure. Why wouldn't you want to instill propaganda into your party, into your country, being like, look, we're here for, America is the greatest power in the world.
Right. I'm just saying, it's just the great feat of that. Yeah, Russia put a satellite up in space. They did that first.
Mm-hmm.
But
the U.S. was probably very embarrassed.
Yeah,
about that.
Definitely.
Of course.
I mean, that's one of those things. It's like, wait a second, they did something we haven't. This can't happen.
And that's how NASA got formed.
Right. with some help of some ex-Nazi scientists, but we'll get into that later.
Right? But this is what you're looking at. It's like you got two superpower countries that are fighting to be number one.
Right. So let's get into more of like what are the main points that make the moon landing a conspiracy? Right. Give us a rundown of like some examples of what the conspiracy theory side of things are putting out there of why it's fake.
As far as,
the moon landing itself, like,
yeah, there's a lot of the things that were brought up. Intuition was, and we'll bring more of them up. But first thing you kind of look at is you're like, well, you think this is like late 50s or so. Do you really think we could send people to the moon? Just think about it. You got they got the uniforms, they got their suits, and you're being shot up in a rocket. You know how hot it is up in space.
Right,
It's just, I don't, even without even diving into information, I look at where we are today, where we came from, and I just don't think there's any possibility that any of our astronauts could have survived in that. I don't think we knew enough. That's just my thing. I'm just going way outside of the box.
Come on.
We're just debating, man. I'm just giving you my opinion, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
So some of the popular conspiracy theories that they point to is like, one, the Van Allen belt, how we managed to escape the dangerous radiation from it.
Mm-hmm.
They also point to, obviously, the flag on the moon. It had a ripple effect to it, right? Something else is like some of the shadows and stuff on the moon aren't consistent with the lights or something of that nature.
You were going that way. Sorry. And then even like when you look at the, when the craft itself, there's no residual anything on the ground.
So like a blast crater or something like that.
Yeah. There's nothing there.
Right.
But, and again, my opinions and theory, this does not change.
All right. So we have Apollo 11.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we spent a huge chunk of money trying to win the space race.
Of course.
And who was all aboard Apollo 11?
That would be, and now there were probably other astronauts, but the most notable ones are going to be Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
The most famous of astronauts.
I believe they were the only two at that time to actually be on the moon's surface, for sure. So we had. Let me look at my notes. So, yeah, it was Neil Armstrong, Commander Neil Armstrong, and the module pilot was Buzz Aldrin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Apollo Lunar Module Eagle.
Yep.
So on July 20th of 1969, Armstrong became the first person to step onto the lunar surface 6 hours and 39 minutes later on July 21st. Aldrin joined him 19 minutes later. They spent about 2.25 hours together outside the spacecraft. They collected 47.5 pounds of lunar material to bring back to Earth. Command Module pilot Michael Collins flew the Commander Module Columbia alone in lunar orbit while they were on the moon's surface.
Still don't buy it. Still don't buy it. Keep convincing me. No.
All right.
Well, of course, that's what they said. That's what may have happened.
All right.
Maybe not.
Throw some stuff at me, and I'm going to try to swat away.
Please do.
Ideas.
Please do. So, one of the main points of this conspiracy for this topic will go onto the great filmmaker Stanley Kubrick. So,
I knew you were going to throw that in there.
It's my favorite. That's why I've been waiting to talk about this. So again, for those you who don't know, Stanley Kubrick was a director who directed movies, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Regarded one of the most important filmmakers.
Yeah, some of the films out there, there's like Full Metal Jacket.
Yep, there's that. There's
Eyes Wide Shut,
which was his most recent with his passing. That had Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. Then you have anything from Dr. Strangelove to A Clockwork Orange to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that's where we're going to go right from there.
I completely forgot he did Clockwork Orange.
It's okay. But because of... Yeah, right. No one wants that done. Trust me. If you watch that movie, just be prepared for some some things you might not be really interested to see, but that's just what his viewpoint with that movie was.
Right.
But inside of his movies, like I said, there was The Shining, another classic, but we'll tie in The Shining and Space Odyssey.
Okay.
Because that's where it has a lot to do with this. These are things I wasn't even aware of either, but as we discussed, NASA was created in 58. Then what you end up seeing is, as far as Stanley Kubrick getting in the picture, was he had actually he met with Henry Kissinger and Donald Rumsfeld, and that's a name you've probably heard at one point or another.
Yep.
For national security. But I think what happened is that they saw a Space Odyssey. Okay, and again, this is where I'm kind of leaning towards. They saw a Space Odyssey, and they were blown away by what he was able to do, and he was very ahead of his time as far as filmmaking is concerned. But before it was released, it said before the launch, rumors were that he was probably involved with this fake moon landing.
Mm-hmm.
And what the craziest thing was, as far as with this footage, he met with them. Met with them in London, and there was kind of like a hypothetical game plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, well, to help fake with the moon landing of Apollo 11. So then what kind of really is weird is that you start to see some of these instances in his movies. So specifically with The Shining, there's a scene where, let me just grab a couple of these things here. One of the scenes is basically the Overlook Hotel. And in the beginning, as they're discussing, there's, basically the hotel was built on an Indian burial ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, in the movie, you'll see that the manager who meets with Jack Nicholson's character, there is an American flag on his table with an eagle overlooking them.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one.
Okay.
Okay. Then, and then it says here, this was taken as a nod to the eagle, which was the name of the lunar landing module that carried Apollo 11. It's also assumed that Overlook Hotel represents America with its long, brutal history.
Okay.
Right? We're getting better. The Dead Twins.
The Dead Twins.
Red rum, In the book, it's only depicted with one child. But in the movie, there's two children, and that was almost a significant symbolism to the Gemini mission by NASA. What really starts to get it kind of crazy is the fact that there's a scene where little Danny, he's the boy in the movie, is playing with his toy cars, and he's basically on the floor in the hotel, and it's got a pattern carpet design on this carpet. And you look at the patterning of the carpet, and then you look at kind of the patterning of what was kind of like the Apollo 11. It's pretty damn close. Okay. I'm like, that looks like the launch pad? That's kind of crazy. Okay. Then we go a little further. Danny's sweater is Apollo 11.
Yep.
As he's playing on this launch pad, alleged launch pad, and then he's got the, Apollo 11.
Right.
That just says a lot. Then it gets even a little better. Then it's one of the conflicting rooms in the hotel is in the movie as room 237.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, it's 217.
Right.
237, if we're going to kind of go that route or twist your mind a little bit, from Earth to the moon is 237,000 miles.
Okay.
Maybe that's not something. I sure as hell think it might be.
I'm not going to deny that Stanley
No?
Kubrick doesn't put, a lot of hidden meanings and messages in his movies, so I'm not surprised.
Right.
I mean, look back at our Illuminati episode.
Sure.
I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't talk more about him and some of the stuff, because I know we discussed like occult meanings, occult symbolisms and stuff in movies, and this guy is drenched in it. Like, I mean, you once told me about, how Eyes Wide Shut, the use of colors, the use of just simple things as like the way the lights are done or the colors. He definitely packs in a lot of the occult type meaning stuff in there. I'm going to assume it's on purpose because of how much consistency there is with that.
I could agree. Yeah.
So it does not blow my mind at all that, there's some symbolisms and maybe some might be able to tie into kind of things with the moon landing. But interestingly enough, I honestly think that Kubrick was a backup plan.
Could very well be.
I have no way of like showing this as proof because maybe we'll never know. And I know there is a theory to it, but this is my opinion toward it. And I think that he was called up and talked to because they wanted to, if we did not make the accomplished landing, that we were going to air a fake one just to prove that we had won the race. So I think it was more of a backup plan.
A backup plan that actually turned into the plan.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I'm just pumping you full of crap. Doesn't that make you a little doesn't that concern you a little bit that someone from our national defense is Donald Rumsfeld, and then he meets with, he gets briefed from Nixon, and then he, Kissinger, and Kubrick all meet in London to basically get briefed about what they need to do about that?
It wasn't Nixon, was it?
Not Nixon wasn't there. It was Kissinger,
right?
And it was Rumsfeld, but they had been briefed. I mean, they briefed Nixon about what was going on.
Oh, you mean
they were briefed?
Okay.
Yeah, they got their orders, let him know what it is, and then it's like, hey, let's go ahead and meet him and talk with him about it.
Right.
So they met with him. They flew to London, and they met with him, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, we don't have anything.
Top
else,
secret,
right?
baby,
Yeah.
Lock and loaded. Top secret.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more conspiracy.
Don't leave.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Doodly-dee. Today they all are standing in a row. Oh, hi.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I apologize.
What was that?
No, just getting in a good mood. Anyways. All right, so I'm going to start. I'm going to throw some stuff your way that I'm aware of as conspiracy-wise.
But I got one more thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And then you can throw whatever you want at me.
I'm going to.
Okay. So one more thing I just wanted to throw out is that there was a...
You can throw it all out.
Okay, I will.
It's trash.
So there's this... It's trash, huh? Okay. So there was a director named William Carroll, and he made a mockumentary in 2002 that was titled Dark Side of the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading a couple things on here, and one thing that was really startling, and maybe it'll make you change your mind a little bit about the Kubrick theory,
okay,
is that he got interviews from people that were close to Kubrick, family members and such.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay. About 5 years after the Apollo 11, it said Kubrick had called NASA to borrow a top secret wide lens, an aperture called Zeiss lens. He needed to make his movie Barry Lyndon. As a result, Nixon's successor, who was Gerald Ford,
okay,
decided to get rid of him as the last witness of the conspiracy. Informed by the threat to his life, Kubrick locked himself up in his home and never leaves until his passing.
Interesting.
Right? And that kind of made me do a double take. I do want to watch this.
Yeah.
But that's kind of creepy. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Propaganda's propaganda. So
right.
Whatever way you look at it.
Yeah. That is interesting, though.
I mean, it's just...
I mean, with everything surrounding that guy and him to basically go into hiding like that does definitely raise some eyebrows, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like...
I do. I
get
it.
That's... Still can't confirm this, but just the thought of that idea just kind of
Right.
scares the shit out of me to think that, oh, yeah.
If there was something like that in play, no matter which way you look at it, he
Right.
definitely took it to his grave. That's for
I'll
sure.
say, yeah. I don't think you could say anything about it.
All right. So one of the conspiracy theories that we go about here is the flag waving.
Yeah.
And let's hear about it.
I still think it's fake.
No, I mean, give some detail, like why. Why is it made?
Why would you think it would be fake? First off, well, there's no wind in space,
right?
But the pictures you see, and it's flapping where they're at, or one of the astronauts planting it in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like that has kind of been debunked.
Yes, it has. So when they went up there, they had this mechanism that they had the flag attached to. And if this had worked properly, it would have stood straight and the flag would have been completely flattened out as just one giant rectangle. But upon getting it out and about, the the mechanism got jammed, and they ended up having to bend it a certain way to get it to the way it was, thus creating the ripple effect. And, them bumping it around and stuff kind of made it move a little more. And if you look at the footage, it doesn't look like wind is blowing it or it's waving like, if it was wind. It's very stiff and it moves in a very weird way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that gets debunked just from the purposes side of like they had a mechanism for it and it got jammed, and so it didn't work the way they wanted it to, but it did leave it rippled. So I can understand at first glance as to why it would be one of those things like, hey, that's not right.
It's not that I don't disagree, but it's like, why do you need that? Just put the flag up. Oh, because then you can showcase it so you can let the whole world see that it's America.
It's the big middle finger on the moon.
To Russia saying I was here first.
It's completely like, fuck you, Russia.
Right.
We got here.
First.
Fuck your Sputnik. Shove that Sputnik straight up your ass. America. All right, the next one we're going to get into is the Van Allen belt. So the conspiracy side says there's no way that any persons on this spacecraft could go through the Van Allen belt without dying or having extreme reactions from all the radiation from the Van Allen belt.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any rebuttal on that one or to add more to?
No, that's exactly what you said.
That's basically
radiation. They would have killed him.
Right.
I don't think in the 50s and 60s we have this technology. I'm probably wrong, but you know what? I just don't think so.
I understand that, but here's the explanation of why this is one of those debunked conspiracies. So they basically have, the space module. They're armored for certain things, and the little foil stuff you usually see is like deflectors for that kind of thing. Space radiation, solar winds, stuff of that nature. So the way we get around this conspiracy theory is the fact that they had to slingshot and launch the space module or spacecraft at a high enough speed to where they were briefly in the radiation zone for a brief amount of time, thus getting us onto the other side of it. And that's one thing that I forgot to prepare for, but one of the big things for me that was like, how the hell did we do this, was the speed at which we had to shoot ourselves to the moon. Recently they had I think it was a 75-year anniversary. No, that doesn't sound right. Maybe it's 50 years. Maybe, I don't know. Math. Anyways, so I was watching this and it shows the miles per hour it was traveling at, and it was like on up to like 25,000 miles an hour. And I was like, what? Come on.
Ludicrous speed. Go.
Ludicrous speed, exactly.
For all you spaceball lovers out there. Sorry.
But
that's insanely fast. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, that would definitely shoot us through that Van Allen belt pretty quickly. I don't know the size of it or anything, but I mean, I could see that being swatting that theory down because, they were ludicrous speeds. Crazy.
How could a human travel that fast?
I want to know the physics of
and not
that.
have a heart attack.
Because if you look at some of the stuff with like Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier, obviously there are bodily,
right,
like physics and stuff involved.
Yeah,
you can't just like, I don't even know. That to me is crazy.
Like, what if you're shot up there and you're like, I gotta take a crap? Like,
oh, I'm sure it happened.
Like you did it. You were like, oh yeah, sometimes people have anxiety and they're like, they go before, like, if they're nervous for something, like,
man.
T-5, 4. Oh god, I got to shit.
There was
2, 1.
Blast
off in my pants. Oh god.
There was something I watched and I don't remember what it was, but it stuck out to me. They were talking about, astronaut to astronaut, like one person's been up in space before and another person's it's his first time.
Sure.
It's like, we got to let you know something. When you blast off, you're going to shit yourself. Like, you're going to throw up, you're going to shit yourself, and you're going to piss yourself.
Does that sound like a job for you?
It's like,
sign me up.
It's like, this is how you're going to start your mission. You're going to shit yourself.
So how was your day at work, honey? Oh, I just took a shit on the.
Oh, and the smells. The smells.
So right off of there, I think there's no way. Yeah, no way. Move along.
Moving along. So another one that is brought up is, the pictures on the moon's surface. If you look up, you should see stars, and it's just vast nothingness. It's just black.
Yep.
Anything to add to that?
Oh, you could shoot that in a movie sound check area, stage. Yeah. They can do all that. You just take black construction paper, wrap it all the way around,
right? Spray paint everything.
Spray paint it. Have no other light coming in. Yeah, you're gonna get a black effect over there. I'm just saying.
So this is another thing. When I first heard of it, I was like, "Yeah, why can't you see all that stuff?
Right.
It would obviously light up pretty well."
Sure.
Well, it's the same reason why you can't take your phone or camera and point it up at the night sky and catch any stars in it as well. You have to have a exposure on a camera set really high, and it has to be exposed for a couple seconds to 1 to 2 full minutes in order to capture the stars. So that's kind of how that conspiracy theory is kind of swatted away at, because, you do just see black nothingness there.
True. Yeah.
So
that's a tough
one.
I mean, that to me, that's kind of a tough one to,
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that to, that's just intuition.
So another one we'll get into is, the shadows in the pictures and in the film. At certain points of all of this being documented, it looks like there's different lighting sources coming from all directions. And basically what I found in that, it was, the surface of Mars is very, all kinds of different kind of terrain. You have a lot of craters,
Yep.
a lot of boulders and rocks and stuff. So the moon dust itself is reflective. But the main thing on this that I found was that you have this, like, what's the name of it? I don't remember the actual name of it, and I did not write it down. But anyway, there's this earth shine that's created by our oceans and stuff. Mm-hmm. So you actually have another lighting source outside of the sun also shining onto the moon. So that can explain the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
However, I can't say that's strong enough for me to completely disregard that theory. So I'm going to call this one a tie.
I don't disagree on that.
Something else is there's no blast crater from where this module had taken off or landed.
Yep.
So you dive a little bit more into that one.
It's not real.
Why are your thoughts?
Okay, first off, if they're shooting that from ground level, okay, or if it's something goes up, at high speeds, you got heat, you got all sorts of things, but for you to land on it and have no trail, no anything, no footprinting, it's a little bizarre.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not God. I can't walk on water or anything like that. But it's like if you step in a thing of sand, it's going to leave a foot mark.
Well, here's the thing. If you were to do that on Earth, you would definitely have a blast crater because of the backwards thrust required to land such a thing smoothly.
True.
The moon's surface is literally, they have 1/6 the gravity of Earth. So it requires a lot less back thrust in order for it to land smoothly. So I honestly don't think there would be a blast crater, because it's probably just little spurts just trying to get it to land down softly. And even when it takes up, it just needs to go a little bit further, and it's already launched toward the space. Even in the recordings and stuff, they were down to like minutes left of fuel when they landed on there. So obviously it didn't take very much to get them back to where they needed to be with the orbit of the Eagle. So I think that is another one of those conspiracy theories that I would say is debunked.
I'm not buying it. But a good argument. I will agree with you on that. It was a nice argument, but I still don't believe it.
Right.
I just don't understand how a craft can get somewhere, not have any footprinting. I moved my couch after a couple days and it's got imprints.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I don't know. It's not real.
So another thing to kind of set it in there is, we brought rock samples back and they were obviously studied.
Right.
I mean, I guess if everybody's on board, I mean, they can just say, okay, we got these rocks over here and they're definitely
right from Mars.
Moon. Right. We're talking about moon. The moon.
Mars.
Another thing is we left mirrors on the moon's surface. Specifically so we can shoot lasers at them from Earth to accurately find out the exact distance between here and the moon. I'd like to hear that argued.
I don't think I can.
I got nothing.
No, I mean, how do I argue with lasers?
Lasers. Freaking laser.
Seriously, at that point, I'm like, how can I even try to debunk that?
All right. Here's another thing that I kind of fall half and half on. Photos are doctored. That's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, it is, I guess, but you can openly find out that NASA does doctor their photos. Specifically, there are pictures of the Earth itself. The original picture, it looks what they deem as not cool enough or kind of boring. So they have a guy go in, add some clouds, add some, color, some color correction, I guess you could say. But it basically makes our Earth look like the awesome picture of the Earth that we usually see. So we also have pictures on the moon itself where there's two different pictures, supposedly like 15 meters apart, but you can line up the background of like the mountainside, or not mountains, but the hills and stuff, and they line up exactly. But one picture is supposed to be 15 meters or kilometers away from that.
Right.
And here we're like, okay, this is obviously the same picture, just doctored. It looks like they gave it the same background. They just changed the front of it up.
But doesn't that bother you if they are going to doctor photos? What else they could be
again, like I said earlier, you lied to me once, I don't trust you anymore.
It's over. It's over.
Well, I'm just going to have a hard time believing everything.
That just tells me right there. I'm like, no way. Sorry. If you're doctoring photos, what else are you doctoring?
I mean, we can go
documents,
into that, but
footage.
The thing of it is that can be explained away as well, because the moon doesn't have the atmosphere that the Earth has. You don't have pollution on the moon that we know of. So, the visual of it's not getting refracted or reflected in a certain way.
Right.
So that could be, I guess it's a parallax effect, where nothing's getting necessarily affected.
Right.
Kind of like when you take a picture of a hillside on a camera, you don't get that 3D effect on the picture. So you could be taking a picture of something that's like got a 30-foot drop, and on the camera itself look like it's only like a little grade down.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I want to chop that up to. But we also have another picture that it stumped me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. There is a picture, and I believe it's from the Apollo 12 mission, and they have a full-on picture of an astronaut. You know, it's got the whole bubble head thing, and if you zoom in on it, it looks like there's a lighting can. Here's a picture right here of what a lighting can looks like. But you zoom in, and it looks like it's a lighting can, just reflecting off of this astronaut's helmet.
It does, doesn't it?
So I'm stumped on that one. I have no idea what that could be. If you know, leave it in the comments below on our YouTube channel. If you have another way of listening to us, obviously the podcast, send us the email, info@thunderrooster.com, giving us that lovely explanation.
That it's a hoax. Thanks and good night.
But yeah, I think what it boils down to is, I think you're about to bring this up, is why we haven't been back.
Ding, ding, ding. Survey gets the square.
So
Yes. Why the hell have we not been back?
Well, we
Tell
have
me
not
this.
been back since 72. And as well as that, there has not been a single nation on this planet that has put people on the moon.
And that tells you what?
It tells me that it hasn't happened with any other nation.
Good defense. Yes, sir.
Okay, so obviously we have different space programs around the world, and there have been successful missions where they've orbited the moon. I believe India, I hope I got that right. India sent a rover and lander to the moon's surface, but they lost all contact with it. Oh my gosh, we need to take a break. We'll be right back, motherfuckers.
Ron, why did you say that? Why? Why, Ron? What? You're my hero, Ron.
Garth,
You come out with stink like that. Poop. Poop mouth. Get out with poop out of your mouth.
Class act. All right, welcome back.
Yo.
From our breaks that we have to take to reset the cameras. Maybe we should start a Patreon, maybe. Help us get better
We need
equipment.
money.
All right, so kind of wrapping this up. There's a little more questions.
What else you got?
Mainly a big thing is why have we not returned?
Yeah, that is the question, Ron. Why have we not returned?
We have not been back to the moon since 1972.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's a huge question for conspiracy theorists. And there's two main things I believe we have not been back to the moon for, and one of it is budgetary reasons. Okay, so back in the late 60s, well, basically from 60 to 73, the government spent $25.8 billion doing all of this. Now, this is taxpayer money. This is coming from everyone in America basically going toward this. And that was a huge thing against the space race back then was, you had the war in Vietnam going. And, we have all kinds of people like, why are we throwing our money at this? We have other priorities. And there was a lot of lives lost in this space race, just getting us to having the crew that went to the moon get there. So to put it into a more rational train of thought, that $25.8 billion that we spent back then in today's currency would be like $264 billion. Are you understanding what I'm saying? $264 billion. A trip back to the moon for us today, just the trip itself, getting back to the moon, would be about $133 billion. And that's just for us getting there, a little stay on the moon, and getting them back. Now, a lot of progressive stuff that's been going on with like Elon Musk and SpaceX, that could cut costs down because obviously you can reuse everything, but still it costs a lot of money. The second thing about it is it boils down to politics. Okay. Politics is what got us going in the space race to begin with. Kennedy had his little speech saying that we want to put a man on the moon because the Russians had satellites up. Okay. Fine and dandy. But, since we went there, all the money's been focused elsewhere. So in 2004, George W. Bush signed a bill or act to allocate more funds to NASA to do the Constellation project, which was essentially to get us back on the moon. When Barack Obama got into office, he nixed that whole thing. Budgetary reasons.
Right.
We get into politics.
Right.
2017, Trump signed a bill. I forgot what it was called, but
he basically made it to where they allocate $19.5 billion to NASA for space exploration and stuff, which is a lot of money up front, but that has to be split to all the different projects that are going on with NASA. So in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that much money. So, you know, the budget's one of those big things. And on the conspiracy side of things, you know, if we didn't actually land on the moon and we didn't spend all the resources they say, then where'd that money go? And this could be a future topic, and it probably will be, but the black budget. You know, you can't have a budget and just have something that says black budget, and you don't need to know where it went because obviously everybody being a rage over it. So you have a bunch of other little things or big things that the money is being said that they're putting it toward, but end up being completely into something else. Like this space thing, that's a lot of money.
Oh, yes, it is.
And a big card to be like, okay, we want to drill highways underground from Washington, D.C. all the way to Los Angeles. Sure, we'll throw it toward the space budget. You know, I mean, just that's a wild instance, but you know, you get where I'm going with it. Well, yeah, I think the reason why we haven't been back to the moon is due to politics and budgetary reasons. But there's also the thing of NASA blatantly destroying all the data, analytics, I guess that's the same thing, and the blueprints and everything of how we got to the moon and what we needed to get to the moon. And they just destroyed all of it. It's like, what you
so
say,
how does it make you feel? That
you
they
say destroying evidence.
So how does it make you feel?
I think that was a huge mistake.
Why are you destroying evidence? What are you hiding?
Well, that's the thing, the evidence part of it. You know, we have video evidence of the moon, or do we? But, you know, it's one of those things.
Right?
Why did that happen? Was it a big mistake and they just had to be like, oh, whoopsies? I don't personally know. But I guess that's where we're going to take the rest of this into. Is like, what are our honest opinions? Because me and Paul have been playing basically good cop, bad cop with you guys. Sorry. Kind of had to do it with this
Someone
one.
has to.
So we're going to get into our honest opinions on everything. And I'm going to allow you to go first.
Well, just what you were just telling me about everything. There's a lot of pork. I love pork. You love pork.
Yummy.
Right? There's a lot of pork in these bills. Right? Listen, we live in a country where we print money out of thin air. Okay?
Right.
We have something called the Federal Reserve, and they like to print as much as possible.
About as federal as FedEx.
Right? So, as you were saying, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Mm.
Right? We blow that money on bullshit all the time.
Yeah.
Okay? Again, from that point, if it was so expensive and the last time was 72-ish or whatever, don't you think they could budget their money and save up? Right? Since this is so important.
Mm.
But yet no one's been back there.
Right.
Okay? We don't have enough money, but we put the money in everything. We put money where we need to be. Again,
Here's a good example. I saw a meme the other day on Instagram. Instagram, Thunder Rooster Podcast, or at Thunder Rooster Podcast. Follow us on there. But I saw the meme on there, and it had 3 pictures. The first picture was of the B-2 bomber, the stealth bomber. And it said, $2 billion plane. Underneath it was a picture of a bomb. So it's got a $2 billion plane dropping a $26,000 bomb, or maybe it was $260,000 bomb, onto a $100 tent. So that was one of those things. It's like, we spend a lot of money on a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. I love the shit that they spend their money on. I'm a huge advocate for fighter jets and bombers alike. But also, I mean, when they go in and do, like, there's this movie called War Dogs that I love, has Miles Teller and Jonah Hill in it. And they're talking about, you know, government contracts and everything, and how, you know, George Bush and Dick Cheney basically kind of screwed themselves by giving contracts to their own own businesses. But when you look at some of this stuff, they'll be selling nuts and bolts that you could buy at hardware stores for a couple bucks, but because it's for certain projects, and I don't know if it's just a real big quality thing, but you're buying them for hundreds of dollars for single nuts and bolts, which, I mean, really, I think it might be one of those things where you're spending, I mean, it's a good way to tuck away money if you're trying to, so to speak, launder that budgetary money. But yeah, that's kind of where I trail off on that one.
No, everyone's been so upset and wanting to get answers about climate change, and I keep telling myself in the midst of all this going about, last 15, 20 years, it's like, then if that's such an important thing, as we're discussing, Elon Musk is talking about, travel to Mars,
Right.
All these kind of things. It's like, again, why wasn't that decided years ago?
Mm.
If this is an important thing, if we're so concerned about our environment and one day we may not have any opportunity to live on this planet anymore,
Right.
don't you think we'd start looking into these things?
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson had a really good point to that. Is if we have the technology to geoengineer another Earth on Mars, so to speak, then we would have the technology to geoengineer and fix Earth, basically. So
We don't have either.
The climate change argument, that's something that's always gotten me kind of a chip on my shoulder about that, is it was global warming up until Al Gore decided 2015 is when we're all going to be underwater.
Right.
That
but
never happened.
but
So
it's
it's
like-
like they
yeah,
got to
but
call it
again-
a different thing now. And climate changes. So-
I know it changes, but it's like when you're talking about the fact that they haven't gone up in 40 or so years,
Mhm.
and they're telling us they have, and nothing has happened since, and no one else has been up there since, and we're worried about our planet, they should have already done research on these kind of things.
Well,
all
yeah.
these years ahead. I understand, but I'm just saying, I still to this day,
No, the research is being done. That's the thing. The thing of it is like we don't have any solid plan.
no.
I mean,
But when
we
your
have these-
exploration stops 30 some years ago,
right. Well, I mean, with Elon Musk, he's a new player.
Yeah,
he's
of course.
a private organization.
yeah, and he's going to get the money to do it
right. And
if he does it.
he sends stuff into space, reusable rockets and stuff.
Mhm.
I love what that guy does.
Absolutely.
He's literally like a modern day Einstein.
Mhm.
No doubt about that.
Well, other than that, I still don't. I can't believe that if evidence is just discarded, and we don't really have any other full proof other than what we see
Mhm.
like this, I still find it to be bull. I think this was just a political play to compete with the Russians, so that we were able to put them in their place.
See, my side of things is like yourself.
Mhm.
I don't trust it, but also I'm looking into a lot of the stuff that debunks basically all the questions about it. I honestly believe that we did go up there. I do believe that. Now, the thing that we talked about earlier with the failsafe is what I'm going to call it, with Kubrick and the whole filming, the whole thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're not going to make asses of ourselves and waste that kind of money. And can you imagine if we had failed going to the moon with all that taxpayer money being put toward? There was already this resistance and outrage over us spending this kind of money on that anyways.
Mhm.
So to completely prevent an uprising in America, they had to have a fail-safe plan, which was Kubrick faking it. So if we did not accomplish that, then yeah, I believe they probably would have, because I don't put it past our government to do some kind of shady shit like this. But,
I just think when you said that they didn't have enough money and all that, it's like, I just don't believe they did it to begin with. And we'll never know. I mean, we could debate on this till we get gray and old and die.
I mean, like I said
just-
before, we did place mirrors on there to where we can shoot lasers off of it. And you can actually see the flags
I know.
on the moon. So I honestly believe we did go. That's the thing. It's like, I don't believe that we didn't go. However, there may be a question of, was Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong actually the first people on the moon? Or was that fake?
Propaganda that we were told. I don't know.
There could be an instance or line of story where
we could find out, we could not find out, but maybe that wasn't actually the first person on the moon. We'll never know.
Nope.
Probably when any of this information comes out, if it did, obviously we have the information on the moon landing right now, but I'm just saying from a conspiracy theorist kind of looking at it, like maybe one day we might know the truth. Like in that movie Interstellar, it says like, you actually believe we went to the moon? That was propaganda to bankrupt the Soviet Union.
Matt McConaughey was so pissed.
And he's like, what? But anyways, that is our moon landing episode,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen. We like to have fun with this stuff.
And feel free to comment on this. And
Yeah,
if you want
please.
to take sides, it's fine. No big deal.
Right.
But give us your viewpoint, what
Yeah.
you're thinking about this, because this is still brought up
For
today.
real. And like I said, it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love believing in conspiracy theories as much as I actually want there to be a Bigfoot. It's fun in theory and in thought, but
Yes, sir.
doesn't necessarily mean it's true.
No, not at all.
But yeah, we really appreciate you guys checking us out. And if you've stayed along with us for this long on the video or on the podcast, which you can now check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and hopefully soon Stitcher will be on there as well.
Yes.
We are obviously way ahead of time on schedule or releasing these. As you can see right here, it is October 17th. This will be releasing, I think, in the first week of December. So we've got a bunch already pre-planned here. But by now you've seen probably already, we did have a Halloween episode. And we will be having one on Christmas. So this will be airing the first week of December. So in a couple of weeks, you'll be able to check that out. Please look us up on our YouTube channel. All of our links to everything can be found on our website, thunderrooster.com. It's got links to our Instagram, to our YouTube channel, to finding us on Spotify, on Apple, as well as you can contact us on there. It's info@thunderrooster.com. Send us a message. We're still always open to hearing your stories of anything paranormal. I'm dying to hear your stories. So leave us a comment, leave us an email, anything you can do. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, and definitely give us a rating on Apple Podcast. That helps us out and kind of helps spread our name out there. Make it easier for people to stumble across us. So, you got anything else?
No, I think we made our points.
Awesome.
And
That
they're
was
not going to
the-
change, but that was fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. I hope you have a great
Thanks again
rest
for
of your
tuning in.
week. And you can check us out again next Tuesday. And we hope you come back. Tell your friends.
Please.
Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Tell your friends. All right. Peace.
Thank you. Later.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.